Steve Malzberg.
All right, folks, welcome back to the show. And joining us once again is Dr. Jason Johnson, Senior Politics Editor for Politic365.com, author of the new book, Political Consultants and Campaigns, One Day to Sell. And, Professor, welcome back, sir.
Glad to be here. Glad to be here.
Well, it's good to talk to you as always. By the way, did you know that Sports Illustrated named its 50 most powerful people in sports last week? And guess who weighed in at number 44? The man who called Miami Heat the Miami Heats. The man who called Comiskey Park Kaminsky Field. The man who asked, when asked, who was your favorite White Sox player when you first started rooting for them, said, well, you know, I actually started out as a Oakland A's fan. The man who couldn't bring the Olympics to the United States, Barack Obama, is the 44th most powerful sports person in the world, according to Sports Illustrated. It's nice to be president.
I think it's fascinating because most of these presidential candidates, Republicans or Democrats, they know nothing about their local city sports, and so they always sound like fakers. It's amazing. I think the last guy who really knew anything about sports, maybe Bush with the Rangers. Clinton definitely liked the Arizona the Arkansas Razorbacks.
So are you saying that Barack Obama's faking it?
Oh, completely. All right,
then we agree on that.
Yeah, except for the Chicago Bulls. Now, he does like the Bulls because he likes basketball. That's legitimate.
All right. But, you know, when I saw him sitting there a few years ago with Bob Costas, Costas's face almost turned pale, and he tried to save him when he said, there's something about Kaminsky Field, and Costas is like, oh, the old Comiskey Park, and Obama didn't even pick up on it. Anyway, let's talk about this charm offensive that the president is apparently on. You know, leading up to Sequester, he went around the country. He had props behind him, and he's talking about how these people are going to get fired. Kids are going to get kicked off Head Start. Teachers are going to get fired. Lines at the airports are going to be long. Food inspections will stop. And it's all these evil Republicans. If they would just close the loophole for corporate jet owners, we'd all be fine. Well, that didn't happen. Ray LaHood was called out. The CDC director, Friedan, was called out. Also, Janet Napolitano was called out. Arnie Duncan was called out because they were saying things that simply were not true. The polls now have dropped. Obama's lost a lot. The latest Reuters poll shows 43% approval rating for Obama. So all of a sudden, and the polls also show that folks say, hey, sequester's okay because we do have to cut the budget. Now, all of a sudden, Obama's like, hey, let's go to lunch. Let's go to dinner. Let's work together. Is it a direct result of everything I've just talked about?
No, I completely disagree with your characterization there. I think that you have to look back to the history of this. Number one, Obama's ratings have dropped because the public expects, and they've always had too high expectations when it comes to his ability to negotiate with Congress. If you look, Congress is still at levels, Congress's approval levels are still in the 15, 16, 17%. There are revolutions that have been started with higher approval ratings than that. So Obama may have dropped because people expect him to magically wave a wand and negotiate better with Congress, which he can't do. I can also say this. The issue about the sequester and the real impact that it's going to have is not immediate. Everything that Obama said is going to happen. It's just not going to happen within 7 to 10 days. But I can tell you a number of people who have been directly affected. Quick example, one of my best friends is a biomedical ethics professor. He is studying cancer rates in children. His funding has been cut because he has an NIH grant. That happened. They got that email.
Well, so, I don't doubt that because they want to make the cuts, and there are emails from the government that prove this. They want to make the cuts as painful looking and seeming as possible to make what the president said seem as true as possible. But when Arnie Duncan was asked what teachers are going to lose their jobs, he pointed the reporters to a district in West Virginia. That district said teachers are going to lose their jobs here, but it has nothing to do with the sequester. So they went back to the White House press secretary and said, what teachers? Couldn't answer. Janet Napolitano claimed that last weekend the lines were twice as long, and they don't even, the TSA isn't even affected yet by the budget cuts. The CDC director said kids in Maryland will lose their vaccinations, yet the Obama budget proposal cut that program more twice as much as Sequester will actually cut it. So, I mean, they overplayed their hand, and I think most people do agree that Obama now has no alternative but to try to show that he's now reaching out, because making villains out of the Republicans didn't work. And you talk about approval rating for Congress, it's always in the toilet. It was in the toilet when Nancy Pelosi was the speaker. So don't make it sound like it's just the Republican-led Congress.
It was not this low before. And look, let me tell you, Barack Obama has never had a great relationship with Congress. He didn't have a great relationship with Congress when he was running the Congress and Democrats and Nancy Pelosi were in charge. But we were not seeing approval ratings that were in the 20s. Look, I am in America.
Uh-oh.
Tell you this.
Yeah.
Objectively speaking, what is being done right now does not make any sense. And I also know this. A lot of these cuts that they're talking about, of course they're not immediate, but people are going to start seeing the influence around the 14th or the 15th when their first paychecks come out. People are going to start seeing these kinds of influences 4 or 5 months down the road. So, no, the impact isn't huge. It doesn't mean that there's any more egg on Obama's face than there ever has been. I think he and Boehner are sincerely interested in solving this problem. They just haven't found a solution yet.
Well, I don't know that they're going to find a solution if more tax increases are to blame. But here's something. The president, as an example of trying to make it look like it's going to hurt and trying to show the public it's going to hurt, the president made sure that the White House tours stopped. That saves $18,000 a week. And yet we have, of course, the Obama's vacation plans going full steam ahead. We have plans now for Rihanna and, Beyonce and Adele. They're already making plans for Michelle's 50th in January. That's going to be a big shindig, and you know what? They're not going to pay for it. You and me are paying for that. So many things are going ahead, vacations, golf outings, you name it, but the White House tours for $18,000 a week, something that means so much to kids that they actually sent out video podcasts to the White House to keep it, please, begging to keep it, but nope. They want to make sure that symbolically that gets shut down.
Apples and oranges here, Steve. Look, let's be honest. Do you know where we spend most of our money? Most of our money is going down the tubes because we are irresponsibly fighting in Iraq and Afghanistan. I'm not saying we shouldn't be there. I'm saying we waste millions and billions of dollars a year using contractors rather than using the Army Corps of Engineers, which is what we used to do in the 80s under Ronald Reagan. We waste millions of dollars a year in funding ridiculous projects in individual congressional districts that nobody wants to take care of. We're talking small potatoes when we're thinking about Michelle Obama's birthday or the White House tours. It's the big...
Wait a minute, but you're right. But they cut the White House tours, and they're keeping Michelle Obama's birthday. You make my point.
But that's not a lot of money. That's fairly insignificant.
Right. So why did Obama make sure the White House tours stopped?
They cut the White House tours because the president obviously wants to do something that is of symbolic importance. But that's not a crime. In fact, that's what you're supposed to do when you're making your point politically, in the same way that the Republicans have been standing there saying this is not going to have an impact and ignoring the fact that research on oncology, that there are school teachers that are being furloughed, that there are staffers.
Where are the school teachers? Because Arnie Duncan couldn't tell them. Carney couldn't tell them. Where are they?
That are being furloughed right now.
Where?
In Cleveland, Ohio, there are after-school programs where they receive federal funding. They have started furloughing now in anticipation of cuts that will come down the road. So, yes, the president exaggerated. And, yes, the Republicans are underplaying the issue. But you can't pretend that the regular men and women out there who aren't like me and you right now, Steve, they are suffering.
Dr. Jason Johnson, we'll talk again next time. I appreciate you coming on. Thank you very much. Always enjoy it.
Thank you.
All right. Check him out at Politico365.com.
The Steve Malzberg Show.